Welcome, villagers, to the village hidden in the stories. I'm your guide, KAGE, the creator and author of all the what-if stories you see on this channel, with your awesome suggestions, of course. I write, edit, and produce every story you hear, so if you're wondering who made it, it's me. I hope you enjoy today's video. Be sure to leave your what-if ideas in the comments and subscribe if you're new. Today's story is What If Naruto Was a Solo Leveler Part 1. I'll be honest, I wasn't that into the FIC, so it's kinda bad. Still hope you like it, but I'm most likely not continuing it. However, next week is Avatar The Last Airbender FIC, I'm hoping you all like that one so I can make it a full series. Before we dive in, shout out time. Thanks so much to everyone who comments, keep them coming. And our second shout-outs for my Shinobi Patreon members, Omar, Francios Lyman, Alpha Wolf 1993, and Dominic. A special thanks to all four of you. If you'd like to support the channel, check out my Patreon, link in the description. For just $5, you can get early access to full-text transcripts, thumbnails, ad-free videos, and updates for my what-ifs. Now, without further ado, let's jump into this what-if. Part 1, Silent Prodigy. Chakra reserves replenished, HP fully restored, skill logs updated. Special skills, Substitution Jutsu, True Transformation, installed. Passive skills, True Prankster, Bastardized Brawler, installed. Base level calibrated, core stats initialized. Downloading system, Quests module, installed. Stats module, installed. Skills interface, installed. Map system, installed. Extra resources, integrated. System download complete, awakening user. Naruto stirred in bed, his unruly blonde hair shifting with each breath. Sunlight pierced through the dusty blinds and hit his face, pulling a groan from his throat. He rolled to one side, then the other, only succeeding in waking himself up further. With a sudden jolt, he sat up, back hunched, groggy but alert. A lazy yawn escaped him as he rubbed the sleep from his eyes. At first, nothing seemed strange, his room was the same disaster it always was. Dirty, dim, half-eaten cups of ramen littered the floor like discarded ambitions, but still, something felt off. It wasn't the mess, it wasn't the cramped, suffocating apartment. It was something deeper. His eyes remained half-lidded, still clinging to the warmth of sleep. But even his 8-year-old brain, chaotic and stubborn, could tell that something was wrong. What was that voice? He blinked hard. There had been a voice. A quiet one, familiar in shape, human in cadence, but missing something, missing a soul. That's what old man GG called it, right, something without a soul. Naruto furrowed his brow, he was fully awake now. What the heck was that? And then, it appeared. A glowing blue screen shimmered into existence in front of him, casting a faint light across his cheeks. His eyes widened. Huh? Naruto blinked a few more times, trying to figure out if the glowing thing in front of him was real. Is this actually floating? He muttered. He waved a hand through it, his fingers passed right through the light, no resistance. Okay, not a sticker, not a scroll, not a painting. He mumbled. The bright blue screen hovered there, pulsing gently. And right in the middle of it, there was a glowing start button. What's the worst that could happen? He tapped it. The screen shifted instantly, more words appearing. Welcome, Uzumaki Naruto, you have been chosen by an ancient force born of a forgotten world. This system has selected you as its host, to grow, to adapt, and to survive. System features unlocked, leveling system, quest system, observation system. Note, current system version is restricted due to user's age and status. Additional features will unlock once key milestones are met. Graduate from the Shinobi Academy, begin active shinobi training. Reach specific physical and mental benchmarks. Naruto's mouth opened slightly, he read it twice, then a third time. Is this real? He whispered. Or is someone playing a trick on me? It sounded like something out of a comic book. Some kind of secret tool given to the hero before he saves the world. But Naruto wasn't sure if this was some kind of prank or one of those illusions, genjutsu, they'd taught about in class. For once, he was glad he hadn't skipped every class. Then he tried to remember how to tell if he was caught in one. He decided he'd ask Gigi, the Hokage, if anyone knew what was going on, it'd be him. But just as he thought that, another screen popped up. New quest added, infinite quest, do not tell, you are forbidden from revealing the system to others, reward, none, penalty for failure, severe. Naruto's eyes narrowed, what kind of penalty? There was no answer, the screen didn't clarify, just hovered in front of him like it was waiting. He thought about the idea of going to the Hokage again, and felt a chill, better not risk it. Alright, fine, but how do I even know if this isn't a dream, he muttered. Just then, the screen flickered again. New quests available, daily quest, go about your day like normal, try using the system in small ways, reward, 50 EXP basic genin tool set, failure, 10 EXP, special quest, is this real? Sneak into the shinobi library, locate and study the expert scroll on genjutsu release techniques to confirm whether this system is fake, real, or a trick, reward, 100 EXP shinobi armor set, failure, 40 EXP, Naruto stared at both. This one's just walking around like usual, that sounds easy, he said, pointing at the first, then he saw the reward, a full genin tool set. His grin widened, better than these cheap kunai Mizuki gave me at the start of the school year. Sure, Mizuki was his sensei, but these tools weren't doing anything for him. He looked down at the second quest, the library. He'd outrun Anbu before, well, kind of, maybe. Not really, still, it sounded doable. Dangerous, but doable. He thought about what EXP meant, then another screen appeared. EXP, short for experience points, gained through quests or combat, used to level up and grow stronger. Then another window opened. Level 1 EXP 0/100, stat points 3, point stats, STR 0 SPD 0, CHA 0 control 0, END 0 INT 0, STM 0 STL 0, base stats, STR 5 SPD 5, CHA 125 control 10, END 20 INT 4, STM 40 STL 35. Naruto raised an eyebrow as each abbreviation was explained to him. STR was strength, SPD was speed, CHA was chakra, control was control, END endurance, INT intelligence, STM stamina, STL stealth. Wait, why's my chakra so high? He questioned to himself. Naruto wasn't sure whether it was high, or if that was the normal amount of chakra for most people. The system flickered again with an explanation. Base stats are your natural growth, trained, earned, and learned without system help. These come from your life experience, point stats come from leveling up. You choose where they go. They can't be changed by training or experience. Skill points also add 3 times their amount compared to base stats. Your final stat total is the combination of your base point stats. Warning, some effects in the world can suppress point stats. Only your base stats remain active in those moments. Keep both strong. Naruto leaned back, head spinning. This is a lot, but it still didn't explain why his chakra was so high, or maybe it was low, he couldn't tell. He looked at the screen again. One quest to blend in. One quest to prove it's real. Without thinking, he accepted both. Then his eyes shifted to his unused stat points. Quickly, he assigned one to strength, one to speed, and one to chakra. A spark ran through his body, like something had actually changed, but the feeling faded almost instantly. Did something really happen? Did he actually get stronger? He'd figure that out later. Right now, he had to get to class. Naruto turned to the side of his bed, searching for his alarm clock to check the time, only to freeze in shock. His eyes widened. He bolted up and out of bed, but the glowing screen followed him. How do I close this thing? He thought frantically. He swiped through the menus in a panic until he found the exit screen. There, instructions appeared: to open or close the system screen, simply think the words, open or close. Simple, but at least it worked. Especially since he'd overslept, by a full hour. The 8-year-old threw on his oversized orange jumpsuit and rushed out of his dirty apartment, brushing past the clutter like it didn't exist. On the way to the academy, he tested some of the other features the system offered, mainly observation and quests. With observation, he could see descriptions of people or things, their stats, and even his relationship with them. It didn't take long to notice something strange: most of the villagers didn't like him. The system confirmed it, but said the reason was buried deep within their minds and couldn't be accessed. That triggered a new quest: uncover the truth. Why do the villagers hate you? He accepted it, noting this quest didn't have a time limit like the first two, which had to be completed by the end of the day. As he browsed more quests, he noticed something else. Different quests had different rewards. Most gave some form of EXP, but only specific types, like daily, special, or higher-ranked quests, rewarded actual items. So far, all he could find were basic quests, the lowest tier. He didn't fully understand the quest system yet, or observation for that matter. But both seemed useful. Another detail stood out while using observation: shinobi generally had higher stats than civilians, but when he scanned a few chunin around the village, he noticed something surprising: his chakra stat was higher than theirs. Most of the chunin had chakra stats around 35 to 40. His was even higher than that. His control and other stats were lower, sure, but that one difference caught his attention. And one more thing: no one else could see the screen, it was visible to him, and only him. That made him even more suspicious. It didn't take long for Naruto to reach the academy. As he neared the classroom, he wondered what else he could use the system for. Could it help him with jutsu? Could it help him win? His thoughts faded as he stepped through the classroom door. "You finally decided to show up, Naruto," came a voice with a familiar mix of irritation and patience. Naruto blinked up at the man at the front of the class, Iruka-sensei. His brown hair was pulled back like always, his forehead protector sat properly across his brow, and he had that usual stern expression that made Naruto think of a tired uncle who cared just a little too much. His scar stretched across his nose like it was carved there just to remind people he'd seen real battles. But now he had to deal with a hyperactive 8-year-old instead. Naruto rubbed the back of his head with a sheepish grin. "Heh, overslept." Iruka's eye twitched. He definitely didn't believe that for a second. Arms crossed, he let out a heavy sigh. "Just make sure it doesn't happen again." "Got it," Naruto chirped, then darted to the back of the class and flopped into a seat. Laughter echoed through the room, some loud, some quiet, but all at his expense. Naruto noticed, of course he did, but he was used to it by now. So he kept that same smile on his face. Once he was seated, the laughter died down and the rest of the class returned to ignoring him, just like they usually did, unless he was doing something dumb or loud. Iruka picked back up on his lesson like nothing happened. Naruto sighed, staring forward. But instead of paying attention, he thought, "Open." The screen shimmered into view before his eyes, invisible to everyone else. His mind returned to the system. It was too weird to ignore, and too important to waste. He'd already seen other people's stats, so why not his classmates? Observe. He let the system scan the room. Most of the class, aside from Iruka, had lower stats than him. Even kids from clans, like Kiba, only had a slight edge in areas like strength or speed. As expected, none of them matched his chakra level. That made one thing clear: he wasn't dead last in everything. Just in grades. If someone just gave him a real shot, he could show them how strong he actually was. But then a thought hit him like a shuriken. If my stats are higher than most of the class, why can't I perform a single decent clone jutsu? He frowned, pulling up his own stats again, specifically chakra and control. He stared blankly at the numbers, deep in thought. To everyone else, it probably looked like he was finally paying attention. Even Iruka glanced over with a surprised expression. Naruto kept glancing back and forth between his stats and those of his classmates. That's when it clicked. It was the difference, the imbalance. Most of the class had chakra and control stats that were close together. Not perfect, but balanced enough. Naruto's chakra stat completely dwarfed his control. It was like trying to pour an entire river through a drinking straw. He may not be book smart, but Naruto wasn't an idiot. The system gave him the missing pieces, and he was good at puzzles when the stakes were high. If that was the issue, then the solution was clear: he had to raise his control stat, fast. If he didn't, he'd never be able to properly mold chakra for jutsu, not even the clone jutsu. Then, ding! A small pop-up appeared on the screen: achievement unlocked, critical thinking, you've made a key deduction using system tools. 40 EXP, a small grin crept across Naruto's face. That brought him a little closer to level 2. Curious, he tapped the system screen and opened the achievements tab. It was mostly empty, he could only see achievements he'd already unlocked, but that made him even more excited. There was so much to explore. And he was starting to realize, this wasn't even the full system. Right as that thought crossed his mind, Naruto. He jolted upright. Was he being called on? He looked around. Everyone was gone. Only Iruka remained, giving him a confused look. Wait, class is already over, Naruto asked, blinking. Iruka muttered something under his breath before speaking louder. It's time for the weekly physical training, standard shuriken, kunai toss, and sparring drills. Naruto's eyes widened, then dulled immediately as he hunched over. That part of the day always sucked, he was awful with kunai and shuriken, and he always had to spar with Sasuke. Iruka's voice broke through his thoughts again, you coming? Ah, yeah, sorry, Naruto said quickly, hopping out of his seat and running down the steps toward the training field. The cool air of the training yard hit Naruto as he stepped outside the building. The academy's outdoor practice field stretched out before him, simple and worn, a packed dirt battlefield and a few old, dented shuriken posts. Nothing fancy, but to him, it was familiar. He stared at one of the posts for a moment too long, his expression faltering. This was the same place he'd made a fool of himself more times than he could count. Every shuriken he missed, every snicker from the crowd. Every disappointed glance from Iruka-sensei, he remembered caring, he really cared about shuriken jutsu. It wasn't just another subject to him, he had genuinely tried to be good at it, and failed, over and over. Naruto blinked hard and shook the thought away as he realized he was already in line. If, right beside Sasuke, Griya, he could feel the Uchiha's quiet confidence radiating off him like a furnace. Normally, that would have lit a fire in Naruto, but right now, he didn't care. Instead, he opened the system. System menu opened, skills tab selected, it was the one thing he hadn't really explored yet. Up until now. His attention had been glued to stats and quests, but skills, that felt personal. He only had 3. He frowned, brows scrunching as the system gave a quiet chime and explained, skills are active or passive abilities gained through repeated actions or training. Passive skills form naturally through experience. Jutsu skills are more structured, based on chakra flow, form, and technique. Unlike traditional training, system-based skills never degrade. Once acquired, a skill only improves through continued use. Evolution of a skill unlocks new variants and strengths. Old forms remain available, skill evolution, combination, and specialization will unlock in future stages. Naruto's gaze lingered on the passive section. 2 skills. King Prankster, passive, level, a high-level trickster talent, honed through years of practice. Grants bonus instincts when evading or creating traps. Potential for advanced strategic use, not yet applied in combat. Naruto blinked. King Prankster, he gave a small snort. Somehow that made sense, still, he waved it off. He'd get back to that later. Then he clicked the second one. Bastardized Brawler, passive, level, not applicable, a chaotic, self-created fighting style. Wild and unpredictable, but unrefined, too many gaps in form. Control not achieved. Cannot evolve or level until flaws are corrected. His stomach turned a bit. That one stung. He made that style, after every teacher told him you can't, you shouldn't, just learn taijutsu like everyone else, he did it anyway. Every punch, every kick, every wild move in the streets of the village, dodging angry shopkeepers and bigger kids. He crafted it himself. But now the system was telling him it wasn't even a real skill. Not until he fixed it. TCH, he grunted under his breath, clicking over to the only jutsu listed. And his eyes widened. Physical transformation, jutsu skill, level 1, believed to be the standard transformation jutsu. However, due to incorrect hand seals during training, this version modifies the physical body instead of casting an illusion. Somehow. It still works. What? Naruto's heart skipped. This wasn't a genjutsu. This whole time, he wasn't creating a visual illusion, he was actually transforming his body. That meant all his sexy jutsu transformations, all his weird prank forms, weren't illusions, they were real. Real weight, real changes, real consequences. Did one of the academy teachers screw up my hand signs? He muttered. That thought simmered for a moment. Someone had either messed up, or sabotaged him, but it backfired. Because now, he had a transformation technique that actually altered his body. That could be massive later on. He was just starting to think about the implications when a voice cut through the fog in his mind. Up next, Naruto Uzumaki, Irika's voice boomed across the yard. Naruto blinked. He turned his head slowly toward the teacher. Irika was frowning. You've been standing there like a statue for a whole minute, Naruto, I've had to call your name 10 times. Oi, baka. Another voice shouted from the side. You're holding up the whole class. He didn't even have to look. He knew that voice. Sakura. He gave her a glance, then turned to see the rest of the students glaring, tapping their feet or whispering among themselves. Naruto scratched the back of his head with a sheepish grin. Hee, my bad. Truth was, he'd gotten way too caught up in the system. He stepped forward toward the shuriken post. Heart already sinking a little. Irika gave him a suspicious glance, arms crossed. Like he was about to say something. But decided against it. Naruto took his place. He noticed Sasuke was already standing nearby, having completed his turn. Probably hit 4 or 5 dead center, just enough to seem cool without overdoing it. Naruto could imagine it. Meanwhile, he knew how this went. Another terrible score. Another wave of pity, of laughs, of disappointment. But just as that thought crossed his mind, the system chimed softly in his head. Daily quest complete, reward, beginner's tool set, Shuriken edition, item acquired. Huh. He suddenly felt it, like something shifting in his pocket. Naruto reached down and pulled out a small pouch, new, clean. Opening it carefully, his eyes widened. Inside were 6 perfectly forged kunai and a few shuriken. Sharp, balanced, clean black finish with no rust or dulling. Naruto blinked again. This wasn't a normal academy tool. This was something different. He looked toward the target ahead. And for once, he didn't feel hopeless, he felt ready. Naruto stared at the kunai in his hand. His grip was firm, but inside, his nerves were still swirling. Come on, just one good throw. He thought about the system, about the new tools at his disposal. For once, it felt like he actually had a shot at not embarrassing himself. He let out a slow breath, the grip tightening as he raised his arm, thunk. The kunai flew true, embedding itself dead center in the bullseye. Naruto blinked, then blinked again. No way. He threw another, it struck to the side of the first, still a hit. Then another, a bit wide, but it landed, another. All 6 kunai landed, not all were bullseyes, not even close, but they all hit. None bounced off. None missed the target. It was enough to send a wave of murmurs through the class. A soft chime rang in his head as the system popped up, new passive skill acquired, basic kunai and shuriken toss, a beginner-level skill forged through persistent failure and a rare success. Accuracy is tied to control. Naruto grinned. For the first time in a while, maybe ever, he looked at Iruka and shouted. I did it! Sakura's voice cut in, disbelieving, there's no way the dead last actually made his first kunai throw. Kiba snorted, TCH, took him long enough. Sasuke didn't speak, he just stared at Naruto from the line, eyes narrowed, unreadable. The rest of the class quiet, stunned, watching. Naruto didn't say anything more. He just smiled faintly to himself, walking back into line with a little bounce in his step. Iruka nodded, arms crossed, a small proud grin on his face. Finally, Naruto had passed one thing. Maybe not top of the class, but enough. And for once, it didn't feel like a fluke. The sun had shifted overhead, casting longer shadows across the training ground. The small sparring ring in the dirt had been drawn, and Mizuki was now leading the next section of class with a smug little smirk he wore too often around Naruto. One by one, students were called up to spar. Some matches ended fast. Others dragged, the strangest was Sakura versus Ino, which went on way longer than anyone expected, ending in a draw, the two girls still yelling at each other as they were dragged out of the ring. Naruto watched it all, silent, but his mind wasn't idle. Observe. He was scanning everyone, pulling up their stats when he could. Watching how they fought. Trying to figure out what he needed to grow, how he could compare. He wasn't better than most yet. Not by a long shot, but with the system, he might catch up. Then Mizuki's voice rang out. Next match, Naruto Uzumaki vs Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Of course. He looked up at Mizuki just as the man gave him that faint, fake smile. But with observe, Naruto could see past it. Mizuki, Chunin instructor, hidden disposition, deep-seated resentment. Sees Naruto as a stain on the village. Keeps it buried, but it bleeds into his actions. Petty. Vindictive. Naruto clenched his fists, so that's why I always get put up against him. He sighed and stepped into the ring. Sasuke was already there. As usual, the yelling started. Crush him, Sasuke, Ino shouted. Beat Naruto into next week. Sakura chimed in, let's go, Sasuke-kun, the background chorus of fangirls screamed. Naruto didn't even flinch, he was too focused now. Make the symbol of combat, Mizuki ordered. Sasuke and Naruto raised their hands, half tiger seal. Naruto immediately cast observe. Sasuke Uchiha STR, 7, SPD, 8, CHA, 25, Control, 20 END, 10, INT, 10, STM, 16, STL, 15, the youngest of the Uchiha, gifted, proud, balanced in every stat, most notably control and speed. Currently views Naruto as an annoyance, not worth his time, however, that opinion may shift. Naruto winced inwardly, his stats are better across the board. But he didn't back down, he couldn't. It's taijutsu only, that's my chance, no jutsu. No tools, just fists. He wasn't sure how he'd win, but something in his gut said he could. Mizuki grinned, begin. They vanished from their spots. Naruto moved first, sloppy, fast, throwing a wide kick. Sasuke blocked, easily. Naruto followed with a punch, blocked again, then a sweep, dodged, another punch, Mississippi, but Naruto didn't stop. He wasn't fighting like before, he wasn't charging in blind and getting thrown out instantly. He was trying, he was adjusting, tightening his stance. Sasuke was still better, but he wasn't overwhelming Naruto. Not this time. He flipped back, barely avoiding a counter from Sasuke. And even Sasuke seemed surprised. The crowd quieted. Naruto panted. He's better, I know that, but I'm still here. He glanced at the system. Sasuke wasn't moving, just watching him again. He opened the window, no jutsu allowed, but chakra wasn't banned. Naruto remembered hearing about chakra reinforcement. Pushing chakra through your limbs to hit harder, move faster. Could he do that? The system chimed softly. Advancement. Critical thinking Mach 2, you've made a key battle-based deduction using system, 50 EXP, good enough. Naruto closed the window, eyes locked on Sasuke, they both moved. Only this time, Naruto pulled on his chakra. It wasn't much, his control was still bad, but just enough chakra surged through his limbs to push his speed higher. He kicked. Sasuke blocked, but the impact rattled him, sliding him back. Naruto pressed the opening, grabbed his sleeve, pivoted, and threw Sasuke clean out of the ring. Silence, everyone froze, even Naruto, even Sasuke. Then, he cheated, Sakura shrieked. Yeah, Ino yelled, pointing. There's no way that loser beat Sasuke without cheating. Maybe he used a genjutsu. Did he bring in a clone? Mizuki stepped forward, lips curled in a sneer. There's no way Naruto won fair, he must have used something, some trick. Naruto's scowl deepened. I didn't cheat. He looked Mizuki in the eye. No jutsu, no weapons, just taijutsu, like you said. The fangirls weren't hearing it. Liar, there's no way, he must have cheated. It wasn't just mocking anymore, it wasn't jokes at the class clown, it was hate. And it was different, it hurt. Naruto looked down, the whispers, the looks, they weren't the same this time. Then Sasuke looked at him too. And for the first time, he scowled at Naruto, like he was trying to make sense of something that didn't add up. That look stung more than Naruto expected. Then, Iruka stepped in. That's enough, he shouted, everyone stopped. You can't accuse someone of cheating just because he won, that's not how shinobi act. He looked at the class, then at Naruto. That being said, Naruto, he hesitated. Can you explain to us? What happened? Naruto's breath caught, even Iruka, he didn't answer, he didn't want to answer. So instead, he turned, and ran. He didn't look back, didn't listen to the stunned voices behind him, he just ran. Sakura folded her arms, tch, typical. Ino snorted, guess that's his answer, he couldn't even face us after cheating. And the class watched, some confused, some angry. The sky had turned gold, the late sun sinking behind the rooftops of the village. The wind blew quiet and cold across the empty training ground, scattering dry leaves across the dirt. Naruto stood alone in the center, eyes distant. He'd run here without thinking. No one had followed. His chest rose and fell slowly. Not from exhaustion, but from something heavier, disappointment. His fists clenched. Even Iruka-sensei, he muttered under his breath. He thought I cheated too. He may have not said it aloud, but the question was enough to instill doubt. He lowered his head, bangs covering his eyes as the silence of the clearing swallowed him. All the voices echoed in his head, Sakura yelling, Ino accusing, Mizuki practically smirking when he called him out, Sasuke's scowl, Iruka's doubt. Naruto sucked in a shaky breath. They never believed in me, not once. The words left him like venom, bitter, raw. He took a slow step forward, eyes rising to look at the tall practice dummies ahead of him. Broken wood. Splintered targets, things that were supposed to help someone get stronger. But no one had ever helped him here. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the kunai pouch, the one the system gave him. It was still there, snug and real in his hand. "You're real," he whispered. "I know you are." He tightened his grip. The mission. His mind flashed back. Special quest, is this real? Sneak into the shinobi library, locate and study the expert scroll on genjutsu release techniques to confirm whether this system is fake, real, or a trick. Reward, 100 EXP shinobi armor set. Failure, 40 EXP. He would have completed it, to prove that the quest was either real or not. But now, he looked at his new kunai pouch again. The system's real, the physical reward was enough to prove that it wasn't some delusion, or a trick, or a prank by the village. And if the system was real, if this was real, then he didn't need them. Not the teachers, not the classmates, not even Irika. Naruto exhaled, slow and steady. They all think I cheated because they think I can't win. Because to them, I'm the class clown, the mistake, the dead last. His voice dropped to a whisper. They'll never see me as anything else. He looked down at his hands. Small, bruised, but his. I wanted to prove them wrong. His eyes narrowed, and a new look entered them, a sharp one. A cold one, but if they won't let me, if no one's gonna help me, he reached down and tied the pouch to his side again, then fine. I'll do it alone. He stepped toward the edge of the training ground, his shadow stretching long behind him. I'll train alone. He walked to the dummy and slammed a kick into it, the impact snapping its head to the side. I'll fight alone. He punched again, and again, until splinters cracked free. I'll get stronger, alone. He paused, staring up at the darkening sky. If I have to be solo for the rest of my life, so be it. His eyes burned, not with tears, but with fire. Because now, he had something no one else had. He had a system. And a goal. And so began the start of something dangerous. Next step, quest change. Special quest, the new road, you've realized the system is real, no genjutsu release needed. Now it's time to kick things into full throttle. Over the next 10 days, you must train yourself and take on additional quests to level up and reshape who you are. Objective, reach level 10 within 10 days. Reward, 500 EXP, shinobi armor set, large fox cleaver. Failure penalty, 40 EXP, minor penalty. This mission is non-negotiable. As you've probably noticed, there's no decline button. Naruto looked toward the corner of the system screen where decline usually sat. It was gone. He narrowed his eyes. He hesitated. The penalty wasn't harsh, but part of him still wondered if he could actually do it. Then he shook his head. What am I saying? He muttered aloud. Yeah, he was nervous, but that didn't matter. He had to do this. Whether he liked it or not, whether he was ready or not. Even if he was on his own for the rest of his life, he'd accept that. With renewed resolve, Naruto pressed the accept button. The system window closed. He immediately began planning how to get started. That's how it began. The first step on Naruto's path, a journey to grow stronger, bit by bit. He trained every day, harder than ever before, using the system to sharpen his edge and push past his limits. Along the way, he'd finally uncovered the truth, the reason the villagers hated him. The Kyuubi had been sealed inside him. It wasn't hard to figure out once he put the pieces together. It didn't break him, but it did make something inside him shift. He didn't hate the villagers, but his faith in them, that was a different story. On the outside, Naruto still wore the mask of the class clown, the loudmouth, the knucklehead, the prankster who couldn't throw a shuriken straight if his life depended on it. But on the inside, something was changing, he was changing. Each day, each quest, each bruise and stat point earned through grit rather than praise carved out someone sharper beneath the surface. The system didn't lie. It didn't pity him. It didn't ignore him. It simply gave him results for effort, and that was enough. No one noticed. Or maybe no one wanted to notice. To them, Naruto Uzumaki would always be the fool, the burden, the sealed beast in a boy's skin. Even when he landed hits in sparring. Even when he improved. Even when he stopped talking as much and started watching, thinking. They didn't look close enough. But that was fine. Time skip. The soft chime of her alarm echoed through the pale pink room, perfectly timed to fade just before it could become annoying. Sakura Haruno's eyes fluttered open. No groggy blinking. No stretch. Just a poised, calm breath. She sat up slowly, brushing a lock of her pastel pink hair behind her ear before reaching for the brush on her nightstand. With practiced strokes, she combed through her already smooth hair, checking her reflection in the mirror across from her bed. Okay. Time to be perfect. She stood, went to her small wardrobe, and opened the doors with care. Inside were outfits sorted not by color, but by image. Approachable but smart, pretty but modest, cute but focused. Today's goal? Academy ready, Sasuke worthy. She dressed quickly, a clean red blouse, skirt pressed perfectly, and a touch of lip balm for natural shine. She smiled in the mirror, closed her eyes, and tilted her head in what she believed was a thoughtful, pretty pose. A second later, the smile vanished. It wasn't real. It never really was. Downstairs, the smell of tea and rice was already drifting through the air. Good morning. Sakura called with a brightness that seemed to echo her polished look. Her mother turned from the stove. Haruno was graceful, severe in posture, and always sharply dressed, even while cooking breakfast. Morning, Sakura. Sit. Eat. You'll need strength for your final day. Sakura slid into her seat, straightening her skirt. Her mother placed a bowl in front of her with quiet precision. Then, as if commenting on the weather, have you spoken to Sasuke lately? Sakura blinked, caught off guard. Not really. I mean, I try to. But he doesn't talk to anyone, really. Poured her tea and sipped before speaking again. You shouldn't stop trying. He's the last Uchiha. Strong blood. Good future. He'll need someone smart beside him. Sakura hesitated. But I think he kind of doesn't like when girls chase him so much. Maybe if I just, no. Iam's voice was calm, but firm. This is exactly when you should start standing out. Be soft, be graceful. Speak with purpose. Smile less, unless it's the right kind of smile. Sakura looked down at her rice. Her chopsticks paused. Iam continued, her voice lower. Families like ours can't afford to be overlooked. You're bright, talented, and pretty enough. But pretty fades. Standing next to a boy like that? That's what creates real futures. Before Sakura could respond, a booming voice cut through the quiet kitchen. There's my little blossom. Her father stepped into the room, already dressed for his shift at the administrative office. He bent down and ruffled her hair, then turned and planted a long kiss on Iam's cheek. Sakura groaned loudly. Ugh, why can't you guys wait until I'm gone to be gross? Her mother gave her a dry look. We were like this before you were born. You'll survive. I don't want to survive, Sakura muttered, grabbing her bento and bag. I want to forget. As she moved toward the door, she called back, it's my last day as an academy student. Tomorrow, I'll be a genin. Iam called out after her. I'll speak with the registrar today. With some nudging, we can make sure you and Sasuke end up on the same team. Sakura paused with her hand on the doorknob, her mother added, but you'll need to step it up now. Look more beautiful. Be more thoughtful with your approaches. A lady doesn't chase. She invites. For a second, Sakura didn't move. Then she turned slightly, giving a soft smile over her shoulder. Got it, Mom. She closed the door behind her. Outside, Sakura stood on the steps for a long moment, her smile slowly fading into a quiet, unreadable expression. Sakura walked briskly through the streets of Konoha, her bag slung neatly over her shoulder, chin lifted just enough to maintain that poised, but effortless posture. She passed familiar shops, nodded at a few neighbors, and tried not to overthink her mother's words. Look more beautiful. Be more thoughtful, right? Because that's all that matters. The wind shifted, brushing through the trees, and that's when she heard the voice. Wow, forehead. You're actually up early for once. Sakura stopped in her tracks and turned. Ino Yamanaka stood a few feet away, arms crossed, blonde ponytail bouncing slightly as she smirked. I'm always up early, Sakura shot back. Some of us don't need an hour just to pick out a top. Ino walked up beside her, the smirk never leaving her face. Well, some of us actually know how to make things work. Looking good and being good? It's a skill. Sakura's lips curled into a sharp smile. Funny. I was just thinking how hard you've been trying lately. Ino feigned offense. Trying? I don't need to try. Especially not when I'm already ahead. They started walking together, both pretending it was casual, though the steps got faster, the glances sharper, so Ino added, ready to see Sasuke again today? Or are you planning to finally give up? Sakura snorted. Please. I'm the only one in the class who can actually match his level. Match? Ino tilted her head. That's a strong word, forehead. Stronger than yours. Pig. Ino's smile twitched. Want to race? Sakura blinked. What? To class. Winner gets the desk next to Sasuke. Sakura narrowed her eyes. You're on. Without another word, they bolted down the street, schoolbags bouncing, hair whipping in the wind, shouts echoing as they sprinted past villagers and market stands. Move it, ninja in training coming through. Get out of the way, losers with no ambition. Ino took the lead for a second, only for Sakura to veer off the main road, cut through an alley, and rejoin the path 2 steps ahead. You cheated. Ino shouted, eyes wide with disbelief. Strategy. Sakura yelled back with a grin. They both reached the academy gate at nearly the same time, panting, flushed, but smiling despite themselves. Call it a tie? Ino offered, leaning on the fence. Sakura gave her a sidelong look. Call it what you want. But I'm sitting next to Sasuke. We'll see about that. The moment Sakura and Ino locked eyes again, it was war, no words this time. Just a flash of competitive fire as they bolted into the academy halls, yelling over each other as they shoved and sprinted for the classroom door. Move it, pig. Out of my way, billboard brow. Their footsteps echoed loudly down the corridor as they neared the classroom, jostling shoulder to shoulder. They slammed the door open at the same time, then immediately started trying to push past each other through the narrow entrance. Get off me, forehead. You get off, pig. The doorframe rattled from their squabble. And inside the classroom, students looked up from their seats in confusion, some blinking, others snickering. Here we go again. Shikamura muttered with a sigh, they're gonna break the door one day. Kiba grinned, but before either Sakura or Ino could shove the other out of the way, an abrupt force shoved both of them from behind, firm, swift, and with zero patience. Move it, you two. The voice was cold. Unfamiliar in tone, but somehow familiar. Both girls stumbled forward and hit the floor in a graceless tumble. Sakura shot to her feet, brushing herself off. Who the hell? Ino stood beside her, fuming. Who just kicked? They froze, standing just outside the door. Hands in his pockets, was Naruto Uzumaki. Or someone who looked like Naruto. But not the Naruto they knew. Gone were the loud orange jacket and the goofy grin. He wore a sleeveless black and orange vest over a dark high-collared shirt, black shinobi pants with tight wraps at the ankles, shinobi boots and gloves. A lightweight cloak, styled like an extension of a jonin jacket, trailed slightly as he stepped into the room. His hair was neater. His eyes were calm. Cold, almost, his expression, a blank frown, unreadable and silent. Sakura and Ino both gawked, unable to hide their surprise. "You?" Sakura started, the spark of her usual irritation returning. "You kicked me through the door, Naruto. What's wrong with you?" "Seriously," Ino added, narrowing her eyes. "What's your deal?" Naruto didn't even stop walking. His voice came low, even, and almost bored. "You two were being way too loud. For something this small." He passed them without so much as a glance, and Sakura's eyebrows twitched in frustration. She clenched her fists. "Ugh, what is this? You think acting like Sasuke's gonna make me like you now? You're so pathetic." She swung at him, an annoyed, reflexive backhand, but Naruto didn't turn, he just sidestepped, effortless and fluid. Sakura stumbled forward from her own momentum, catching herself against a desk. Naruto kept walking, hands still in his pockets. With his back to her, he tilted his head back slightly, a smooth, cool gesture, like someone unfazed by the world around him. "Stop trying to hit me, Sakura," he said without looking. "I'm not playing the idiot anymore." Gasps murmured through the class. Sakura stood frozen, stunned, not just by the words, but by the fact that he hadn't called her Sakura-chan. No goofy grin. No hard eyes. No embarrassing declaration of love, just her name. He reached the back of the room and took an empty seat near the window. Quiet. Still, a few heads turned. Whispers passed between students. Is that really Naruto? Did he always walk like that? He looks like an actual shinobi now. Sakura's hands stayed at her sides, motionless. Her mind raced. That can't be Naruto. There's no way that's Naruto. She looked over to Ino, eyes slightly wide. Ino looked just as thrown off. "You okay?" she asked, her voice softer now. "I've never seen him like that. Ever." Sakura didn't answer immediately. Ino continued, "What do you think he meant?" "He's not playing the idiot anymore." Sakura opened her mouth, hesitated, then crossed her arms with fake confidence. "He's faking it. That's all. Just some dumb act to get attention." She turned toward her seat. "Come on, we should sit before Irika-sensei gets here." Ino gave one last look at Naruto, still sitting with that silent calm in the back row. "Yeah," she said finally. "Yeah, all right." But she didn't smile, neither of them did. The classroom gradually filled with the sounds of laughter, shuffling feet, and muffled conversations as the rest of the students trickled in. Sakura sat in her usual spot near the middle row, arms crossed loosely over her desk. She found herself watching the classroom in a different way than usual. Normally, she'd be quick to lock eyes with Ino the moment Sasuke entered, both of them ready to pounce for the seat next to him like it was a battlefield. But not today. Sasuke came in late, one of the last to arrive, quietly walking in with his hands in his pockets, barely sparing anyone a glance. The usual squeals followed. "Sasuke-kun." But Sakura didn't move. Ino didn't either. Sakura blinked, almost surprised at herself. "Why didn't I?" She glanced at Ino's desk. The blonde girl sat stiffly, her eyes staring straight ahead, but her fingers fidgeted in her lap. She wasn't even pretending to be interested in Sasuke's arrival. What's with her? Sakura wondered, frowning, then she caught herself doing it again, her gaze shifting subtly toward the back of the class. Naruto. He sat alone by the window, arms folded, posture relaxed. Eyes half-lidded but alert. That same cool, unreadable look on his face. He hadn't said a word since arriving, Sakura's jaw tightened. This is so fake. All of it, she knew Naruto. She had years of evidence, the pranks. The yelling, the dumb faces, the awful grades, the attention-seeking. And now what, he just decides to grow up overnight? No way. She noticed a few other students glance toward him too. Kiba had whispered something to Shino earlier. Even Choji had done a double take. But none of them questioned Naruto directly, maybe they all thought it was a joke. Just another prank. Sakura narrowed her eyes. Well, I'm not falling for it. If he thinks this act is going to win me over, or make Sasuke look bad, he's got another thing coming. She made a decision right then and there. I'm going to keep an eye on him. He's probably up to something. It wasn't long before the door opened again and Iruka-sensei entered with Mizuki-sensei at his side. The noise in the room died quickly as Iruka stepped forward, clipboard in hand and a confident smile on his face. All right, everyone, he said, voice rising with calm authority. Today's the day. The day you all take your final step in the academy. If you pass your evaluations, you'll officially be Genin of the Hidden Leaf. Excitement buzzed through the class. Even Sakura sat up straighter. You'll be graded on 3 things: a written exam, your weapon accuracy, and a basic taijutsu match. Your overall performance will determine if you pass. You've trained for this, now it's time to show us. The exams begin. Written exam. Sakura stared down at the paper, a small smile on her lips as she clicked her pencil confidently. This part was easy for her. She had always been one of the top scorers in class. She finished early and looked around, eyes scanning until they landed on Naruto. He was focused, his head was bent down, eyes scanning the page with the kind of concentration she had never seen from him. He wasn't doodling or looking bored. Sakura scoffed to herself, he's probably just copying someone. No way, he actually studied. Shuriken accuracy test. When it was her turn, she stepped forward confidently, drawing her shuriken and hitting every mark but one. Still a solid performance. Mizuki nodded approvingly, and she returned to her seat feeling satisfied. Then came Naruto's turn. Sakura leaned over, whispering under her breath, this should be interesting. But then he raised his arm. 1, 2, 3, each shuriken struck near perfectly. 2 bullseyes, one just off center, another clipped a tight mark near the top. Clean, controlled, fast. Sakura blinked. Wait, what? Even Mizuki looked mildly surprised but said nothing as Naruto walked off quietly. Sakura furrowed her brow. Okay. Maybe he got lucky. Let's see him fake his way through the taijutsu match. Taijutsu sparring. Naruto's turn soon. As students continued their matches, Kiba versus Shino, Hinata versus a civilian boy, Sakura couldn't keep herself from stealing glances at Naruto. He didn't cheer for anyone. He didn't fidget. He just sat, arms crossed, watching. When Sasuke was called up, Sakura perked up instantly. Yes. Go, Sasuke-kun. She shouted louder than anyone. She even jumped up a little, hoping he'd notice her excitement. That would break Naruto's act. That would put him back in his place, but Naruto didn't react. He didn't look irritated. He didn't shout or whine or glare at Sasuke like usual, he just watched. Sakura sat down again, her cheer dying in her throat. Still, she convinced herself Sasuke had heard her. He had to have. He probably noticed her support, but then her eyes flicked back to Naruto, and the unease returned. What's going on with you, Naruto? And soon it would be his turn to fight. Sakura leaned forward, arms folded on her desk, eyebrows knitting together as Iruka called Naruto's name. Mizuki-sensei stepped into the ring, loosening his shoulders. Alright, Naruto. Come at me when you're ready. Naruto gave no reply. He simply walked forward, eyes calm, face unreadable. That new outfit of his, black and orange sleeveless vest, slick black shinobi pants, gloves, a trimmed cloak extending from his jacket, made him look more like a fresh genin than any of them. Sakura scoffed quietly. Still trying to keep up the act, huh? The match started. Mizuki struck first, fast, direct. A sweeping leg kick meant to catch Naruto off guard. Naruto leaned back slightly, letting the kick slice through empty air. He twisted and pivoted, the motion smooth, practiced. Mizuki followed with a jab, and then a hook, but Naruto ducked, dodged, sidestepped each strike with minimal effort. No wasted movement. No nervous twitching. Just silent control. The class quieted. Sakura blinked. That's not normal. Naruto didn't counter right away. He waited, watched, forced Mizuki to grow impatient. When he finally struck, it was fast and clean, an open palm thrust to Mizuki's chest that sent the Chunin staggering back. Even Mizuki looked surprised, chuckling nervously. Heh. Not bad. But Naruto didn't respond. He just raised his hands again and reset his stance. Sakura felt her chest tighten. Where did he learn to move like that? A second round began. Mizuki came faster, this time weaving in a feint, but Naruto met it with a spin to his left, planted his heel, and drove a sweeping kick into Mizuki's back. Mizuki hit the dirt, hard. There was a long pause. Irika stepped in. That's enough, he said, eyes wide but composed. Naruto wins. The class murmured. Only Sasuke had been allowed to win his match earlier. The rest of them were stopped mid-fight. Mizuki had never gone easy on Naruto before, but now he looked almost amused, rubbing his back with a crooked smile as he stood. Naruto gave no smirk, no boast. He simply walked off and took his seat again. The same indifferent look on his face. What the hell is going on? Sakura thought, eyes still on him. That wasn't a fluke. That wasn't luck. That was, she stopped the thought cold. No, he's just faking it. Still trying to impress someone. Maybe me. Maybe Irika. Anyone. It's all for show, and yet, her eyes kept drifting back to him. Final test, Ninjutsu evaluation. The students were called in one at a time to perform the required 3 jutsu, transformation, substitution, and clone technique. Sakura's name was called soon after Sasuke. She stood, shook the stray thoughts from her mind, and walked in confidently. Focus. Just pass. That's all that matters. She performed each jutsu with ease. Substitution. A smooth switch with a broken chair across the room. Transformation. A perfect copy of Irika, down to the small scar across his nose. Clone technique. 3 perfect replicas, standing still with identical posture. Irika clapped. Excellent, Sakura. You pass. She smiled, half relieved, half smug, her earlier confusion almost forgotten. She took the offered leaf forehead protector and tied it gently around her hairline, but just as she was about to leave the room, she heard Irika call the next name, Uzumaki Naruto. Her hand paused on the door. Let's see you fail now. She stood just outside, watching from the open doorway with arms crossed. Ino was behind her, also sneaking a peek. Other students nearby quietly tried to listen in. Naruto walked up to the front. Irika glanced up from the clipboard. All right, Naruto. Let's begin. Transformation first. Naruto didn't respond. He moved his fingers through a seal and, poof, instantly transformed into the 3rd Hokage, arms folded behind his back, complete with pipe and robes. There were a few quiet gasps. Irika looked mildly surprised. Very accurate. You can drop it. The transformation disappeared in a puff. Mizuki raised an eyebrow, saying nothing. Next, substitution, Irika continued. Naruto nodded and closed his eyes. A second later, there was a sudden flash of chakra, and Mizuki disappeared, crashing to the floor near the desk where Naruto had been sitting moments before. Wah! Mizuki coughed. Naruto stood in Mizuki's old spot, arms folded, face calm. Irika blinked. You switched places with a person? That requires far more chakra control than most genin manage. Even Mizuki looked stunned. When did he? The murmurs outside grew louder. This is wrong, Sakura thought, heart beating faster. There's no way, Irika finally said, and now. The clone technique. Sakura leaned forward, here we go. This'll prove it. Naruto formed a seal, one clone appeared, just one, it stood upright. Solid. Breathing, Sakura smirked, got you, Naruto, Irika said, you only made one. That's not enough for, touch it, Naruto interrupted calmly. Irika blinked, surprised by the command, but obeyed, his hand pressed against the clone, it didn't flicker, didn't dissipate, Irika's eyes widened. This is a physical clone. The room went dead silent, Mizuki leaned forward, astonished. He used a shadow clone? That's not possible. He shouldn't be able to use that jutsu yet, Irika muttered, stepping back. Even outside the room, everyone went still. Sakura's breath hitched, that wasn't just a clone. That wasn't the same as what she or even Sasuke had done. She stepped back, suddenly uncertain, that was real. That was completely real, Ino whispered from behind her, did he just make a real clone? Sakura didn't respond. Her thoughts were racing now, no longer a storm of suspicion, but of doubt. Real, terrifying doubt, no. No way. He didn't. He couldn't, but she'd seen it. Everyone had, the dead last. The class clown. The prankster, he had changed, and for the first time, Sakura didn't know if that scared her. Or made her curious. That's it for today. I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe, and comment ideas if you can, and maybe you could share this with your friends, because you never know, they might like what ifs too. So without further ado, all KAGE, out.